Greetings everybody. We're on the monthly chart of Euro USD, as you guys can see, and in regards to this particular chart, one thing that we see that is very much important is the fact that we have this huge M structure which has a neckline more or less at that point, and we can see that price came back to the neckline to test it, and at this point over here is where we should be looking for those potential selling opportunities. And if we do indeed find any, I believe that our first take profit should be around this level over here more or less, which is where we have the low, right, of this particular session, right. Before we continue, I actually just want to add a neckline to that M structure, so just bear with me guys while I do so. And just remember guys that necklines are areas and not so much actual lines. So this could be our neckline, and from here guys, what I'm going to do is to utilize the Fibonacci retracement tool just to see if that neckline actually aligns with any key numbers that we have on the actual tool. And the reason why we're doing this is to gather more reasons for why indeed we should be looking for those potential selling opportunities at that neckline. And we can see guys that in regards to Fibonacci, that the neckline actually aligns with, we could say, the 50% Fibonacci retracement level, right? So that adds as further confluence for why at this level over here we should be looking for those potential selling opportunities. Number one, we have that M structure. Number two, we have price breaking to the bottom side of that M structure and then coming back to the neckline to test it. And number three, we have the 50% Fibonacci retracement level, right? So I'm just going to delete this Fibonacci tool, and as I've said guys, this serves as confluence that indeed at this point over here is where we should be looking for those potential selling opportunities. Anyway, from here what I'm going to do guys is head down to the weekly chart. Let's see what's happening on the weekly chart. And here we are on the weekly chart, and just to recap guys, remember on the monthly chart we spoke about how we have this huge M structure which has a neckline at that point, and that price came back to the neckline to test it, right? So now that we are on the weekly chart, what is it that we see on the weekly chart? On the weekly chart guys, we can see that the market is in the process of giving us a very nice M structure, and you guys know by now that whenever it comes to these M structures, what normally happens is that a lot of traders and investors sell on that second leg of that M, and they place their stop losses just above, right? So we might potentially see price actually move further up to around that level where the candlestick ends, and at this level we might potentially get a reversal of sorts, giving us a very nice M structure. And another thing that is also very much interesting or important is the fact that we have this candlestick over here. It is a bearish candlestick with a small body and quite a long lower wick, and by now you guys know that this tells us that there's a lot of money stuck at this level in the form of liquidity, and that the market will always go to where the liquidity is. So there is plenty of scope for the market to actually move further down from where it is. However, before we sell at this point guys, we need further confluence and further confirmation, right? Just remember that. Another thing that I see that is also very much interesting guys is that we have another candlestick over here. It is a bullish candlestick with quite a small body and a long upper wick. Similar to this candlestick, it too is carrying a lot of liquidity at the top where it ends. And remember that liquidity is money that needs to be triggered by the market at one point or another. So chances are that we will at least see price move further up to around where the candlestick ends, and at that point we might potentially see the market push further down, especially if it closes below this neckline of this M structure over here. Can you guys see that, right? Anyway, let's proceed guys. So what else do we see at this point? At this point I don't see much, so what I will do now is head down to the daily chart. And here we are on the daily chart. Let's have a look. The first thing that I'm going to do in regards to the daily chart is to add my daily channel. Let's see, just bear with me guys while I do so. Just bear with me guys. So here we go, more or less we could say that this is the daily channel more or less. And in regards to this daily channel, we can see that the market is in an upward trajectory, as you guys can see. And yeah, let's just zoom in a bit and let's just recap a bit. Remember on the weekly chart we spoke about how we have this potential M structure over here which might have a second leg at that point, right? Anyway, let's zoom in. So what else do we see guys? What else do we see? Another thing that I see that is also very much interesting is that as much as we have this big potential M structure at this point, just also bear in mind that we have a triple bottom at this point over here, which has a neckline at that point, right? We saw price breaking to the upside of that neckline and then coming back to the neckline, and at this point is where we should have looked for those potential buying opportunities, guys, right? So let me just actually add a neckline for the triple bottom, because it's also very much important, as it is now a very strong level of support, right? So we could say more or less that this is the neckline of the triple bottom, right? There we go. So what else do we see, guys, in regards to the daily chart? On the daily chart, I don't see much, but just remember that on the weekly chart we also spoke about how we have that candlestick over here, which is a bullish candlestick that's carrying all of the liquidity, and I said to you guys that we might potentially see price at least move up to that level to grab that liquidity, and at that point we might then see a reversal of sorts, right? So as I've said, guys, the market is at a very strong level of resistance, and also at the neckline of that huge M structure that I spoke about on the monthly chart. And I said to you guys that at this point we should potentially be looking for those selling opportunities. But as far as the daily chart goes at this point in time, I don't see any actual selling opportunities. So from here, what I will do is head down to the H4 chart. However, before I do so, I just want to remind you also that, remember guys, whenever we have these triple bottoms, a lot of traders and investors usually buy on the third leg as well as on the second leg of the structure, and they place their stop losses below. So there's a lot of money stuck here, and it would actually make sense for price to come back to grab all of those stop losses that are sitting at that level. Just keep that in the back of your mind as we go along. Anyway, let's go down to the H4 chart, and here we are on the H4 chart. I'm just gonna fix my daily channel. Just bear with me, guys, while I do so. There we go, there we go, there we go. There goes our daily channel, right? And just to recap, remember we spoke about how we have this triple bottom on the daily chart, which has a neckline at that point, and we said that we saw price breaking to the upside of that neckline, coming back to the neckline to test it, and at this point is where we would have looked for those potential buying opportunities, right? To add to that, remember we also spoke about on the daily chart how we have just bear with me, how we have this huge M structure, and that we might look for a reversal somewhere at this level. As much as we have that huge M structure, can you guys also see that we have a possible structure as well over here, which is an overextended M structure, where the first leg is much higher than that second leg, right? So as much as the anticipation at this point is for the market to push further up, right, to trigger all of those or rather all of that liquidity that's sitting up here, and then only push further down, as much as that's the expectation, we might also potentially see price actually do this, right, giving us that M structure more or less right now, right? But as I said, guys, we have the candlestick over here that's carrying all of that liquidity, and remember also that on this H4 chart we can also see that we have another candlestick here that's a bullish candlestick that's carrying liquidity at that level. So we might potentially still see the market push further up to grab that liquidity, only to push further down and giving us this very nice M structure. Can you guys see that? Having said that, just to zoom out a bit, due to the fact that we have this triple bottom over here and a neckline over here, just bear in mind that necklines, especially this one over here, is a very strong level of support, and as much as we anticipate this potential M structure, the market may only push further down to around this level, which is the neckline, as I said, of this triple bottom, only to continue pushing further up, right? So if you do indeed find a selling opportunity at this point, I believe that your first take profit should be this level over here, and that is because it's a very strong level of support, as well as the neckline of this triple bottom over here, right? Anyway, let's zoom in, guys. What else do we see, guys? In fact, before we continue, I just want to add my H4 channel as well. Just bear with me. There we go, there we go, there we go. All right, there we go. And we can also see that in regards to the H4 chart, we are in an upward trending market, right? We are in an upward trending market. Anyway, let's zoom in and see what happens. So I don't see much, guys, at this point in time, and I just want to point out also that as much as we have this potential M structure, just bear in mind that we also have this potential M structure over here, and we might also see potentially price moving further down to around this level. Although myself personally, I would love to see price move further up to around this level at the very least, and at this level I would look for potential selling opportunities, potential selling opportunities, right? But right now, as far as buying or selling, I don't see any potential entries. However, I just also want to point out that as much as we have this potential M structure, we also have a W structure at this point, which has a neckline at that level. I hope you guys can see that. And we can see that the neckline has been broken to the upside, and we might potentially see price move further down to the neckline. And at this point, again, we might potentially see price move further up to at least this level, and at that level we should potentially be looking for selling opportunities. Having said this, guys, just to zoom out, remember the most important level, in my humble opinion, is actually this level over here, because this would then give us that very big potential M structure. Can you guys see that? Right. Anyway, that is it as far as my analysis goes. I just hope it makes sense, and if you have any further questions or comments, just make them in their own sections. And peace out, everybody.